everybody, it's Romania Black, and we're on the rule of 8 with the Millionaire Detective Balance Unlimited. I know I say it with every 11 to 13 episode season or series that I do, but if you've never been around Romania Black when this rule happens, the rule of 8 is that basically in an 11 to 13 episode series, the 8th episode is usually great. It's either great or it is an important episode that transitions us into the final act of the series. And with this series only having 11 episodes, we only have 4 episodes left. So we are entering the final act. And it definitely feels like it. Like last episode, we finally got some answers about Takei, about Cho, about Daisuke and his mother. There's been some revelations, and we know now that the majority of everybody in the room is kind of on the same page. The only exception is Okio, old chief of the Modern Crimes Division, and then poor Hoshino that doesn't know what to do. So very, very interesting. But I've got some comments before we start, but I'm super excited. I love the 8th episode when we get to a series like this. I'm so hyped for it. I just can't wait. But, and my dogs can't either. So I do have some questions and some comments to talk about before we start. Ashley Roy talked about, Ashley Roy had a really interesting comment. I guess they had done a similar job to the First Division, so they were defending them in their comments. And yeah, we talked about that in the comments section. The idea of Hoshino actually treating Haru better than most do. We definitely see that in the last couple episodes. He seems like he cares about Haru and is a little concerned by how Takei and the others are using him. But the people give the First Division a lot of flack for being the way that they do when Ashley Roy says they're just doing their job. And technically, for me, and technically we shouldn't be mad at them. For me, it's not the technical job part of it that gives me flack with the First Division, because yeah, you're right. They're just doing their job. The Modern Crimes Division should not overstep their bounds when they're not necessary. And Haru likes to overstep his bounds quite a bit. You know, we know that about him as a character. My thing isn't exactly about the whole legalese and the practices the First Division does, but their attitude. Like, for example, in episode 5, when Daisuke and them were dealing with the bomb and they got the lunches mixed up, like the First Division, all they had to do was be like, oh, hey, that's ours, sorry about that. But instead they were kind of dicks about it, and they were like, Modern Crimes doesn't get the nice lunches, they're only for us. And I was like, that was really douchey, and you didn't need to be like that. And then the one guy that looks like Leorio from Hunter x Hunter, he's kind of a douche. Just by this attitude. Like, it's nothing to do with them on the job. It's that their personalities kind of suck. Especially around the Modern Crimes Division. They look down on them a lot. That's my problem. And I think that it's not fair they do it. Like, every part of the machine is necessary. Modern Crimes is a necessary part of the police force. Otherwise, you wouldn't have them. So I do understand that they're overstepping their bounds sometimes, especially Haru, but I don't think some of the attitude that gets given to the Modern Crimes is warranted. That was my issue with it, but that's just my opinion. Y'all have your own opinions, and that's totally fine. So I did appreciate Ashley Roy saying some things like that. I'm glad that they brought out that perspective as well, especially somebody that's worked in a similar position. So that was good. Kaylin V talked about how if the plan against President Alvarez had actually gone through originally without Daisuke stepping in, it was going to be the grandma that was there. The grandma could have died in all of this. I'm like, Granby, no! So I think that's worth to note, and it helps establish why Daisuke is so adamant about figuring this whole thing out. It's not only solving the mystery of his mother's death, but his grandmother was put in danger, like people he cares about. So he has a stake in it, right? And then Lou talks about Haru. I liked how Lou talked about Haru, Cho, and Daisuke and how they approach justice. Lou says Haru approaches justice with a passionate subscription to the rules, except when he wants to overstep them. But for the most part, yes. Cho is willing to get his hands dirty to expose evil, which Haru takes some chagrin with. And then Daisuke is very clinical and impersonal and tackling justice. Although, we've seen the last episode, Daisuke gets a little bit personal and then he doesn't want Haru involved, but I thought those were pretty good notes about those characters. And then Imura, that one scene with Haru going into the interrogation room right before Imura died, I was a little bit confused by, and Lou kind of clarified saying that Imura was about to spill the beans on the whole thing, and then Haru let her go because he realized that the way they were keeping her wasn't the right way to do it. It wasn't by the book. So, of course, Cho was like, we almost got her to confess, but you let her go, and then she ends up dying. So, of course, that's a point of contention. So yeah, I thought those comments were really, really good. I'm super excited about this being the 8th episode, because I've looked forward to this episode ever since we started the series, because I was like, oh, the 8th episode, it's going to be a lot of fun. So that's where we're at, but I hope you all are excited, because I certainly am. We're not going to waste any more time. We are going to dive right into this episode and make sure my subtitles are on, make sure that my volume is up, and we are going to get this party started, y'all. And we're going to start the 8th episode of The Millionaire Detective. We're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's do this. What? What? Rule 8. Rule of 8. Here's my thing, is that we've spent the last several episodes making this like this crime thriller everything, but at its heart, this story has been about a detective. Like, have been detective work, finding a case, solving the mystery. We still have 3 episodes left. So I feel like the show wants us to believe a lot of things right now that I feel like later on are going to be proven not true or complicated, or are not what they seem, right? I feel like that's going to be the case. I feel like it's going to be the case. So So we've got lots of things going on here that we're going to need to map out, like what it seems. So what seems to be, what is presumed. We have that. What is presumed, and then we'll have on the same token, we'll have that alongside other possibilities. I feel like my only worry is, and again, this show likes to play the tug of war game of how's Haru gonna feel, because part of me is like, I feel like Haru's gonna be mad and upset at Daisuke for letting all this happen, and he's gonna be all angsty and be like, well, I'll go solve, I don't want anything to do with you, blah, 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 and it'll be like, Haru, Daisuke's trying to solve the case, and Cho and Takei made the executive decision not to run away, so I'm like, what? From this zombie walking dad, supposedly, but there has to be more to it than that. It has to be like, even if Daisuke's dad is still alive, there has to be more to it than that. But why now? Why come out of the woodwork now? What's going on? Why reveal himself now? Where's the grandma? Is she okay? Like, you know, what is going on with this Adolium? Like, why bring this up now? What's the point? Is this whole thing, like, is it all just an illusion triggered by the system, and it is somebody, but it's like a hologram in front of them making you think that it's them? We need to go through this episode and talk about what it gives us, because I'm like, wait a minute, no! How dare, right? So yeah, let's get through this. So Daisuke, as a kid, he'd ran away. He'd been outside, you know, playing Labyrinth and came back to his house, jumped over the balcony. And when he walked in and the lightning struck, he saw, with the lightning strike, he saw his mom as she'd been stabbed, right? And then Daisuke was like, what is this? And then saw the man with the knife, right? So presumably, what is presumed is that Shigemaru stabbed Sayuri. That is what is being presumed, right? And we don't really have, I mean, he saw his father in the window. I mean, the only thing that we can, you know, other possibilities is, did he find the knife and her and didn't stab her? I mean, there's that possibility. He didn't actually stab her. He just found the knife, picked it up, and as he was like over her dead body holding the knife, that's when Daisuke came in and saw him and then ran away. Because my thing is, I mean, he had to have taken the knife with him, right? Because otherwise, if he didn't take the knife, that would be something really easy for them to use as evidence to pin it on Shigemaru. That would be like the instant thing to do. And I don't remember in the last several episodes if they talked about finding a murder weapon, but she'd been stabbed. So I like that we clear up that Cho was like, oh, so you thought you were coming, we thought you were coming in here to protect the Kanbei family, but the reality is you came back to the division to try to figure out the same thing Cho had tried to figure out. So he's like, the thing of it is, the HESK system, the HUSK system or whatever, it's been listening the whole time. And so it's been listening to everything, and it's been taking in information. There's somebody else on the other side at a different location using this same technology that Daisuke and Sakui and what's her face has been using. And so that's the mystery, is who's been the other person pulling the strings and withholding information. Is it the dad? Is it the uncle? Is it somebody else? We don't know. We don't know. The uncle, her dad, Suzui's dad, he seemed like he looked different. So I don't think it's him unless he lost a lot of weight. But I don't know, right? Because it was established that there has to be at least another sibling in the woodwork. It may not just be Shigemaru. It may be the uncle posing as Shigemaru, right? So that's a possibility to bring down, is that supposedly Shigemaru is back to attack the mansion. But then what was his whole purpose of going there except to stab Cho and Takei? That doesn't make much sense. But then the thing of it is it a family member? Is it a family member posing as Shigemaru? Or did a family member... They said they could identify Shigemaru by the dental records in the accident, which usually those aren't wrong, unless he just pulled some teeth out before he, and sent some teeth with the explosion. But I'm like, could it be a family member, like an uncle posing as Shigemaru, that had access to all the stuff? The big question is, with them with the lab coats on, taking the picture of Daisuke, who took the photo? Did they set it up on a tripod, or did somebody else take the photo for them? And if somebody else took the photo for them, then who was it, and could it be them? Now, if they set it up on a tripod, then, that answers that question. And I think in the flashback, we might get our answer to it. But we find out what happened on the rooftop. Cho discovered that Daisuke is after the same thing. And so this whole adolium, nobody wants to talk about it. It's some kind of weird substance. The grandma doesn't want to talk about it. Nobody wants to talk about it. We get a little glimpse of it in the flashback. But Daisuke believes that whatever this adolium is, it's the entire center of all this problem, right? And he's like, we need to figure out how it's tied to it and what the deal is. And then Takei is just losing his mind inside the cell. He just wants out. He doesn't want to be here anymore. Does he know what was going to go down? We're not sure. So we need to get out of this OP. Although Suzui with the knife, I tell you, it's so creepy. So yeah, Cho is not one for the fancy dishes that are being served by the staff. And so Haru went out to find an errand. I still don't trust Kiyomizu. I don't trust him at all. I know it seemed like a red herring when he came in to see Haru, and I thought he was going to get onto Haru, something was going to happen. But instead, he gave them more of Cho's stuff and was like, here, you're working with Cho? I really don't think Cho should work on this case. It seems like he could get in a lot of trouble. Wink, wink. Might want to stop doing that while he still can. I don't trust Kiyomizu. I can't trust him yet until we find, at least with Hoshino, we've seen Hoshino try to stand up for Haru in this series, and we've seen him try to stop Takei from getting onto Haru too much. Kiyomizu, even though he didn't get onto Haru here, I still can't trust him. I don't know what to make of it. It's just something's up, right? And if we go back a few episodes ago, Kiyomizu's been going to these fancy places to have dinner with people that worked at the division. Who's to say that Kiyomizu didn't go with Shigemaru to have a secret meeting, or whoever's posing as Shigemaru to a secret meeting? Who says that didn't happen? It just, something's up, right? He's like, I can finally get rid of this nuisance. The moment that Kiyomizu said that, I was like, so get rid of this nuisance, you want to get rid of Cho? That's what it sounds like. I don't trust you. I don't trust you at all. I can't, y'all. I can't. So yeah, and of course Haru's like, oh sure, everything's fine. I'm just working with him right as rain. I'm like, Haru. Damn it. So yeah, a little bit worried. Yep. So I like that Cho brings the drinking whiskey, the booze, and tries to talk to him. And they make a point of showing us the 2 dice, right? I think there's only 1 dice in the final shot of the baggie. We'll go back to it, but I think there's only 1 dice, right? But Cho seems like he seems like he's in control of this. I don't know. I do love Daisuke's bedroom. That big old lamp with the orange glow. and that king size bed with like the one pillow. There's like 2 pillows there. I'm like, Daisuke, you could totally. I love that it's such a contrast to Haru's little apartment with his little twin size bed, and then Daisuke has a king size master bedroom, and I'm like, dude, it seems such a shame that you're just sitting there all alone in your bed. If only you could share it with someone. Like Haru, you know. But he looks over at that photo with them. And he says, I promise I won't do anything nefarious. There's no way I can believe something like that. So, the dad, I'll go back to this. The dad said he wasn't doing anything bad. But Sayuri didn't believe him and left. I feel though he loves his wife and son. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I feel like something's up with Shikamaru. I feel like I don't think he would have killed the wife. I don't. Right? Because he gets mad at her, but then, and Daisuke sees it. He's like, I'm putting everything on the line for this research. I won't let anyone get in my way. And then she, who looks like Suzui, says there's nothing more for us to talk about. His parents are like that couple that look alike. Like Daisuke looks like both his parents, but it's that couple that they kind of look similar. Which is probably why Haru thought that Suzui and them were together at first. But yeah, so Daisuke knows that his parents were on the outs because of what was going on. And so there's this third laboratory that supposedly Shikamaru and Sayuri were a part of, but it's nowhere on the books. So it's some secret location. And so then my thing was that Daisuke leaves Haru to everything. And I'm like, really? You're going to leave Haru to everything? Because he's trying to do his own deal? I'm like, that's so sad. I wanted to see them investigate together. I'm like, come on, Daisuke, don't be so cold. And of course Haru's going to do it because that's just how he is. Okay, the butler Hattori. Hattori is there, but not there. He's freaking suspicious too, because Hattori has been there the entire time, but we hardly see anything with him. He just shows up whenever it's convenient and he disappears. He's got dark hair too. So I'm like, Hattori, I got my eye on him. Could Hattori be the prime suspect? The butler did it! As in all old classic mystery stories. I don't know. I'm noticing he's not present for some of it. I'm like, come on, Hattori, what's up with you? He's like, if you need anything, you can talk to my butler. And Haru's like, well, aren't you going to help me research? And he's like, no. And maybe part of it was that Daisuke knew that Haru worked better by himself on it and wouldn't be distracted by Daisuke. And so maybe that would motivate him more. Or maybe Daisuke was trying to get to the bottom of the stuff with whatever was going on with Hyusk. I don't know. But yeah, their son presumed. The photo saying their son presumed is weird. Like, why would you have that on there? I guess whoever put this together, it was Cho's files, so he was just assuming that was the son. So yeah, all of the stuff with Hyusk is not being answered. I'm just saying the butler Hattori starts with an H. Hyusk starts with an H. Just a little quinky-dink. I can't trust anyone. But yeah, so all the stuff related to the mom and dad are cut off, right? Meanwhile, Cho is trying to figure out what Takei knows and doesn't know, and they believe that the old director might have been silenced because he knew too much, and Takei doesn't want to, like, jeopardize himself, so he's not saying anything, and Cho's like, come on, just talk, and he's like, I just need to go. And meanwhile, Haru, I love Haru being voiced by Miyano Mamoru, because Miyano does the best, like, just grumbly, like, why is this not working? I was trying to imagine, I wanted to tell Haru in the episode, I was like, just be like Light. Light would have loved the research. Light would have been all about it. Come on, Haru, just be like Light. It'll be okay. That's what I wanted to say, but of course, no, that's not what ends up happening. I thought that was hilarious, though. I was like, if you were just like Light, it would be okay, right? So what is interesting here is that the search that is given by the computer starts narrowing down results to where everything starts to disappear. Like the search results start to disappear. And that's when Suzui's like, oh, this is not good. And the grandmother getting like more and more like disgruntled when Daisuke is like, do you know about Adolium? And she's like, I don't want you to dig any further in this. You're going to get yourself hurt. So the grandmother knows. The grandmother is at least aware of the threat. Now, we don't know if she knew Shikamaru wasn't actually gone or what the case was, but she was around when they had their argument. So Daisuke's like, you know what they were arguing about. You know that it's serious. And so then we have the flashback, right? We have the flashback where we see her, what is this? We have the flashback where she's making this, and hold on, what does he say? You know about Adolium, and she's like, we go back to the past where she's doing the same action. He says, unforgivable. I'll never forgive her. There's nothing you can do now. Like the grandmother's like, look, she left you. She didn't want any part of this. There's nothing you can do now. Just let it go. But he wasn't going to let her go. And he like knocked the bowl and he says, Tori, get the car ready. So Hattori's been around since the beginning. Since the beginning, Hattori's been around. That is suspicious to me. I'm like, Hattori knows everything. And Hattori took Shikamaru to go see her. So, something's up, y'all. Something's up. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to wait to watch it. I'm like, something is up. Nope. And that's when Daisuke saw her there, and he turned around and Daisuke was gone. And he wanted to know what the deal was. And then when it flashes back to the grandmother, she's like, your father committed suicide. And Daisuke's like, these are lies. I can't believe it. And him just like going off and crying and yelling is the saddest thing. Like Daisuke just like sobbing and running away because his parents died. That's so awful. And even the grandma has like tears in her eyes. Like, that's so freaking sad. Why, show? Why would you do that to us? Why? Complications in their marriage led to my mother leaving the house, and my father, outraged, followed her and killed her. And then, suffering from a guilty conscience, he committed suicide. Are all of these true? And she says you should forget things. She didn't answer the question, which means they're not true. She didn't answer the question, and she doesn't want him to get involved. And Daisuke's like, I hate this. I don't like not knowing. And that's when Suzui is like, come with me. Now, the whole scene with the two of them next to each other, clearly they are not together because they're related. But she's like, sorry I have to do this, but they're watching our every move. The computer's watching what's going on, so this is the only way we can talk. I'm like, the only thing I can think of is, one, Haru, don't get the wrong idea. They were just communicating with each other. And two, will Haru and Daisuke have to be in this situation at some point so that they can talk? Can that be a thing? Can that be a thing that happens? Please? Please, pretty please. But yeah. And so we have all these people here that are shown as being possible leads with the locker. Now, of course, there's a couple people whose faces are covered up, and I'm like, come on, like, what are we doing here? And Takei starts to freak out because he doesn't want to talk about who else knows about the locker, right? And then, yeah, I like that Haru's like, I want to decode what this says. And then money burns a hole in the pocket, which is a phrase that means like you got a hole burn. You've got money, so you have to use it, right? And so they can't decode, unfortunately, what's on the lanyards because it says security, but that's all we can get, which is annoying. So close. And then they realize that one of the villas, one of the villas is, okay, one of the villas is the one where the thing is, Hattori, here's the thing about Hattori. Hattori looks like a Kambe. Has anybody else talked about this? Have we talked about this? He has like the eyebrows like the grandma. He has the hair. He has the facial. He looks kind of like the grandma. Is he like an illegitimate brother to Shikamaru? Is he the one that's doing all this? What is happening? What, the butler is so suspicious, right? Because he brings them the ghetto style ramen in the egg and cracks it open, right? And he's like, can't we get normal food here? And that's when Takei starts freaking out, right? Because they're trying to narrow everything down of what's going on. And Daisuke says that he remembers going to the villas as a kid and remembers what it looks like. And we see the flashback of him and his mom. Now again, there's the camera with the three of them, but we don't know who takes the photo. So yeah, Takei's freaking out. He suddenly started getting scared, and something's amiss, right? And he's like, no, keep security thin. And Takei's like, why would we do that? He's like, you don't understand anything. He's like, no, I know I don't understand. That's why I want to know. So this is the kind of weird parts. They had the opportunity to make security tighter, but instead they kept security thin so that Cho could see the killer, could see the culprit. And Takei was freaking out. But neither ran away. So what in the hell is going on? What is happening? I feel like Daisuke and them have a plan. Are Cho and Takei actually dead? Are they actually dead? I don't know. Is the blood real? Is it not? I don't know. We didn't see them find the bodies, right? We just know that Cho's hand was there for an emergency evacuation, but we don't know anything else. Now, this part here about using Haru as bait to get into the mansion was so mean. It was so mean. I like that they're like, oh, Haru, we're going to use you as bait while we go into the mansion. Hope that's okay. Suzui will help you, like, navigate the rocket launchers and stuff. I was like, oh my god, no. So, yeah, I felt bad for Haru getting used like that. And he's like, son of a bitch. And, like, just using the sonic wave so he doesn't get hit by bullets, but also, like, firing rocket launchers at the drones and at the police. I'm like, what? So, yeah. And Daisuke thinks that he's found whoever's in the mansion. The intruders headed towards the basement room. And he says, intruders? What do you mean? So there's multiple people involved. So, yeah, so there are people in the villa where Daisuke's at, but then there's also people at the mansion with Suzui, right? So what is happening? So they are it's showing them being like, what the hell is going on? Okay. And he's like, they took the bait. He's like, you used us as a decoy. And he's like, yeah, they're the decoy while Daisuke goes to see what's in the mansion. And we see all of the different equipment that we've seen with the president in the previous episodes. And so he's like, what's wrong? I closed the firewalls when the intruder arrived to Area B as we had planned. But they're breaking through the firewalls to come find you. What's the cause? The intruders used to... Okay, so the intruder... Oh, so it's just somebody breaking into their place, not where Daisuke's at. Okay. It's only... The firewall is given to people who are super users of the Kanbei family. And it's Shigemaru. The administrator member. Now... The question is this actually Shigemaru, or is it somebody that Shigemaru gave access to? Like Hattori. I'm telling you, the butler is the most suspicious. The butler and Kiyomizu, I'm so suspicious about. So much. The intruder is gaining access with your father's name. The authority is given to me. I can't access. So yeah, the authentication system. Is he after Cho and Takei? If you could return, then he would have the highest authority, but he won't make it if he left now. And so Haru's trying to figure out how they can get the helicopter. And when Kanbei goes in, he's like, who's been here? Somebody's been here this entire time. So then it's like there's traces of recent activity here. And he questions like, well, who's been here before they left? And she's like, I'm going to close every firewall to buy as much time as possible. And then that's when the system gets shut down. So stuff is happening. Somebody is on the inside messing stuff up. Because then it restarts, it reboots. It's like the system can only be supposedly shut down. This is supposedly the only location it can be shut down at, but it's been shut down from another location. Or there's someone there they don't know about. I'm telling you, I'm going to head over there immediately. Please escape if worse comes to worse. And instead, Cho pours a drink. Now, Takei says we should get out of here. And he's like, no, let's have a drink. So I'm like, what is he gambling on? Why is he not getting out? And that's when we see the guy with the recording system, and he sees that it's his dad. Supposedly. But why? And then supposedly that's the dad there, but his face is covered. So is it the dad or not? Because Suzui tells him to stop. He's standing there with it on, and he takes the hood off. And that's when she says, you were still alive, this can't be. And that's when she gets knocked out. Now, my thing is, if they were trying, he kills Cho-san and Takei supposedly, but leaves her alive? Why? Why did he leave Suzui alive? Why didn't he kill her? Why didn't he take the knife out and kill her? Why did he just knock her out? Of course, I love that Haru's mad. And then Cho is like, I wish my last drink could have been a cup of Japanese sake. And of course, Takai's freaking out. Like, what do you mean last drink? What's happening? So they get out of there, and that's when he tells Takei to go and that he's going to face whatever this is. And then sees, I didn't think you were alive. And he's like, even if I fled from here, I have nowhere to go. And so then whoever this is like approaching like a damn zombie super slow. And he has the handcuffs out. He's going to handcuff him. And Takai's like, well, we'll take him. And there's the symbol. I'm like, is that the symbol of the First Division? They do a close-up on it. Like, why else would they not? Why would they do a close-up on it if not? And Cho's like, okay. So was it a recording device? What's happening? Ah! I'm like, why? And why couldn't I know that Cho is old, right? But Takai's like the leader of the First Division. This was just a guy with a knife. How could you not handle him? How could you not take him? What's happening? He seems to be moving pretty damn slow. And then Suzui wakes up, right? She wakes up, and there's the decanter. They're in another shelter there. There's the decanter and the two glasses, right? Which is very weird. Why is there a decanter and the two glasses? Why are they back in the room? Why are they back in the room that Takei was in? And there's the one guy. He's not the main. He's just one of the house doctors, I guess. She's like, I'm sorry. And then Haru is mad. He's like, if you had only came back. There was an escape route in Cho's room. Yeah, what the hell? So, but Cho and Mr. Takei chose with their own volition to stay. And so Haru gets mad and says, you said you had full control of the mansion, but you didn't. And I mean, like, it's not Daisuke's fault that they didn't get back in time. I mean, what was the option? And then Daisuke's like, well, what do I do? He's like, you left Cho-san and Takei to die. I'm like, and then the police and everybody show up. But I'm like, I feel like Daisuke and them have to have a plan. There has to be something here. My fear, obviously, is in the next episode, Haru's going to be like, I don't need you, Daisuke, and I'm going to go do my own thing. And I'm going to be like, Haru, come on. There has to be more to it. But, okay. And Kiyomizu said, what did I tell you? And then he looks down, okay, and there's his glasses, his phone, the handcuffs, and his wallet. But there's only one dice. Where's the other dice? Because he says, you're tenacious as always to the very end. But there's only one dice. Where's the other die? Now, over on Patreon, on the Discord, they've been doing like some translations of all of the things happening as far as the money spent in each case. And I've been like, okay, well, let's jump back to this and see what episode 8 says. Episode 8 says development of underground interrogation room installation, 540 million. The Soleil Minier was 32,000. Whiskey was 1,200,000. What kind of whiskey was that? The crack open Niangmyeon was 48,000. The rucksack style equipment was 250 million. Purchase cost for 4WD was 6.8 million. Total cost was 709, nearly $1 billion. Just that's all. Just nearly $1 billion. That's okay. So yeah. Oh my god. My fear is like, just like back in with one of the previous episodes, Haru is going to be like, I don't want to work with you, because Haru is always like instantly shady against Daisuke. I'm like, we've been down this road before, Haru. You should know by now. But I don't really want to accept that Cho and Takei are dead. I don't want to accept that. I'm like, how? But why? So, and I know they showed us a body bag, but I want to see bodies, damn it. We saw the wife Sayuri with like a knife wound. We don't get to see Cho or Takei, just the body bag. Something's suspicious. Something's amiss. Something hasn't been taken care of. What's going on? I want to know. So I will probably wait until I get comments for the latest episode that's coming out on Patreon and YouTube, but I'm not going to wait any further than that because I'm going to want to know. So dang it. Rule of 8 gets us again. So come on, y'all. I'm excited to see what happens. I hope you all are too, but I hope you enjoyed this reaction and discussion. I'm curious to know your thoughts down below, but in the meantime, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'll be back very soon with more Millionaire Detective Balance Unlimited. Bye!